me today. An off-season edition of Lakers Talk starts right now.
Here's Alan Sliwa.
All right, what is going on, Laker fans? Thank you very much for tuning in on this Monday, June 10th. We got an hour to talk Lakers basketball. Appreciate you guys hanging out, whether you're on the radio, whether you're on the app, whether you're listening to us on YouTube or watching us on YouTube. Appreciate you guys being a part of the show. What the hell just happened? What just happened here? You know, I'm asking DeAndre, I'm asking Funches the same question, joking around with Sedano and Cat before. What the hell just happened these last 5 days? Does somebody want to explain to me how the Lakers went from front and center to start out the NBA Finals on that Thursday, stealing all the headlines, to standing here on Monday at 7 o'clock at night, still no Lakers head coach, and no idea who the next coach is going to be? We got a lot to get into. Brad Turner of the LA Times is going to join us in about a half hour. If you want to be a part of the show, I'm going to try tonight. I think shows like this always love getting Laker opinions, and if somebody's out driving around or they're listening to the show, watching the show, 877-710-ESPN. But I want to just recap the last couple of days, because when I say what the hell just happened, I genuinely mean it. About a week ago, we all just assumed that J.J. Redick was going to be the head coach of the Los Angeles Lakers. By the way, that could still very much be the case. And there was a little bit of like, why are we wasting our time right now with all these other conversations? James Borrego, Sam Cassell, what's the point of doing it? I think J.J. Redick is going to be the next Lakers head coach. He was on a podcast, and he basically just said, guys, I'm not talking about any of this. I'm going to wait till the NBA Finals is done. He's part of that NBA Finals team with Doris Burke and Mike Breen. And when this is all done, I'm going to go ahead and we'll talk about what his future is going to be, but he wants to wait until the NBA Finals is done. Okay, cool. We'll just kind of leave it at that. I'm going to assume the Lakers are all good to go. Then Thursday came around, and news came out on Thursday. This was right before actually Travis and I were about to do our show. I'm going to read, and I want to take you through the timeline, because there are moments that I thought Lakers are good. They found their next head coach. And then there were moments that it was like, I don't know which way this is going. Is this guy going back to UConn? And then eventually we found out the news a little bit earlier today. Thursday, Woj puts out a tweet, breaking: the Los Angeles Lakers are targeting Connecticut's Dan Hurley to become the franchise next coach and are preparing a massive long-term contract offer to bring the back-to-back national champion to the NBA, sources tell ESPN. That's on Thursday. Okay, everybody's going crazy. Oh, my gosh, you know what? This news was so quiet. Everybody was complimenting the Lakers for keeping this so much under the radar. Wow, genius move. They're going big game hunting, and there's some interest on the other side. Then we find out a couple days later Dan Hurley was going to fly out to Los Angeles. There was news that they were going to discuss a deal over the weekend. And I think it was on Saturday that everybody was assuming that the Laker brass, the front office, owner or governor of the Los Angeles Lakers, Jeannie Buss, was going to meet with Dan Hurley, and they were going to try to close a deal. And I kept kind of saying to myself over the weekend, I'm like, listen, if this guy, first off, if the news comes out like it did, and this is the top storyline going into the NBA Finals, and here's the Lakers stealing the headlines again, and yes, the Boston Celtics may very well win their 18th NBA championship and go one up on the Los Angeles Lakers. Here come the Lakers saying, that's cool, we get it, we understand, give credit where credit's due, Boston's got a good squad, everyone's talking about us. I'm assuming the only way the Lakers are going to, become the top of this story is they know something that we don't know. There's probably a very, very good chance that Dan Hurley and the Los Angeles Lakers are going to figure out a way to put together a deal. That was my assumption. Then Dan Hurley, like I said, comes out, flies out to, at one point, Friday, Saturday, whenever it was, meets with the Laker brass. And I genuinely thought this, and maybe I'm just as gullible as it gets. I'm like, this dude is not flying to L.A. unless the Lakers and Dan Hurley have some type of agreement in place, and it's impossible the Lakers are going to let this guy fly back to UConn and figure out a way for him to potentially not take a deal with the Los Angeles Lakers. They're going to figure this out, and when the dust settles, he's going to become the next head coach of the Lakers. Yesterday, there was an article that came out from Woj talking about how Dan Hurley the Lakers made a compelling case that he loves what he's built with UConn, but there was still a really good chance that potentially could be the Lakers' next head coach. But he's flying back to the East Coast, and he's going to make a decision on Monday. That's when I kind of started, at least for me, and I think this morning I was a little bit more towards 50-50, and I think the more time it took, and then there were some rumors out there, and Rick Pitino saying he's not going there, then you kind of started leaning the other way. But I thought the moment the Lakers didn't close the deal over the weekend, hey, maybe this guy isn't coming. Hey, wait, what if he doesn't actually sign with the Lakers? What's next? He flew all the way out here, and the Lakers and Dan Hurley didn't already have a decision made. I think as we sit here today, and I talked about this a little bit this morning, and I'll expand on it a little bit more. For me, I don't really care about the details. I don't. And I know some people are going to disagree with that. I know some people are going to say, how do you not care about the details? You know, there's only so much that the Lakers could have done. I just look at it, for me, it's black and white. You either got the guy or you didn't. You let everyone around the NBA know that's our guy and that's who we're targeting. The reports even became public that it was a 6-year offer worth $70 million, which would have made him, I think, the 5th or 6th highest paid coach in the NBA, which, by the way, that's not overly impressive. I think there's a lot of people saying that they were actually undercutting him at $11 million a year, that at the absolute worst, you should have gave him an offer that was better than Monty Williams, who's coaching the Detroit Pistons. Whether you want to make that argument or not, I don't know if it came down to money or not. If it did, I would be very disappointed if it came down to money. But for me, the only headline I took from today was the Lakers went all in on this coach, and that coach said, sorry, guys, I'm going back to college. I'm going to go coach UConn. So a coach had an opportunity to coach the Los Angeles Lakers, and that coach, you handed him the keys and you said, guys, we don't do this very often. We've had 6 different coaches in the last 13 years. We want to stop doing this where there just is no stability with the organization. I've used this as an example before. I'll use it again. I don't think there's a company, a business, a franchise, a corporation out there that has had 6 different CEOs in the last 13 years and say, hey, this is the blueprint. Of course it's not. And I think the Lakers, and I give them credit for this, I think they're trying to get out of this. I think they're trying to get out of this mess of only bringing in a coach that's only there for a couple of years and doesn't have true stability. And whether you won an NBA championship like Frank Vogel, your job is on the line. Maybe there was something that happened within the front office and they make a decision on Russell Westbrook, but Frank Vogel's got to go down. He's got to be the one that falls on the sword. Darvin Ham certainly wasn't perfect by any stretch of the imagination, but in 2 years, 1 year he gets to the Western Conference Finals. The next year they lose to the Denver Nuggets in the first round. He's gone. There's just no stability with the Los Angeles Lakers. So I'm not telling you that Dan Hurley would have been the perfect pick for the Lakers. I'm not telling you everything would have been great. I'm not telling you that it was a match made in heaven. I like the idea that the Lakers were trying to go long-term. I like the idea that the Lakers were saying, enough of this 1 year, 2 year, 3 year stuff. We need a coach that's going to be here for a long time. We need a coach that can develop some of these players. We need a coach that can take someone who's average and make them just a little bit better. Make somebody who's an all-star and make them a superstar, whatever it is, right? You want that coach to have his imprint with the players. You want that coach to have his imprint on the team. And instead, we're sitting here today on Monday, July 10th, or on Monday, June 10th, and 4 or 5 days ago came out of nowhere. The Lakers are sitting here today in the headline across SportsCenter, Fox Sports, Yahoo News, every sports outlet you could think of. Dan Hurley churns down the Lakers. That's the only thing that I took away when the dust settled. That's the guy that they targeted, and the dude they targeted said, no, thank you. That's the guy they handed the keys to, and the guy said, here are the keys right back. I'm gonna go to my old car. I'm gonna go to the car that I'm more accustomed to. And I really, really hope, and maybe I'm naive when it comes to this, I don't think he needed to come down here and interview with the Los Angeles Lakers to go get a better deal with UConn. However, he does look pretty damn good walking away from a Laker deal, walking away from 6 years, $70 million, walking away for whatever reasons that he had in mind going back to UConn. Who knows how much money they're going to get. I just saw the governor had some kind of tweet basically saying, we're going to make him the highest paid coach in college basketball. They probably will. I don't think anybody is going to question that. But he walked away from the Lakers, and he looks like the jewel that the Lakers weren't able to get, and the Lakers sit here and they got to figure everything out. Okay. 877-710-ESPN. Let's take a quick commercial break. I do want to spend some time just getting Laker fans' thoughts. It's funny because I think there's Laker fans that are in one of two camps. Al, you're making way too big of a deal of a guy that the Lakers went after and it just didn't happen, and maybe it was circumstances that just had nothing to do with the Lakers. Or I'm getting the other side that probably leans towards me. Yeah, it's just a bad look all around for the Lakers, period. It's just a bad look. That the top headline today is Lakers went all in and couldn't get the coach that they targeted, and now what the Lakers do from here is going to be the bigger question. So 877-710-ESPN. Let's take a quick commercial break. When we come back, we'll take your phone calls. BT of the LA Times coming up coming up at 7:30. Stay right here. This is Lakers Talk on 710 ESPN.
Talk with Alan Slewa. Dan Hurley has turned down the Lakers' 6-year, $70 million offer. He will stay.
All right, well, that turned quick. I'm telling you, I maybe I have an issue with believing everything that I hear, but I thought these last couple of days really thought going into Saturday that the Lakers had their next head coach. I thought it felt like if he's flying out here, then they're pretty damn far along the process, and this is not I thought you're going to dot your I's and cross your T's. That was not the case. When the dust settles, Dan Hurley is going back to UConn, and the Lakers got some stuff to figure out. I know that the Cavs are hot right now, it sounds like, for James Borrego, who's got a couple interviews so far with the Lakers. J.J. Redick, is it his job to lose? He said he's not going to address any of this until after the NBA Finals. Mark Stein put something out there that there's a dark horse in Jay Wright. But no matter what, I think at this point you're either disappointed or you just have no feelings at all of who the Lakers bring in as coach. Let me give you an example. Let's just say, hypothetically, it's J.J. Redick. Well, I'm going to go back to what I said about J.J. Redick for the last couple of weeks. I have no emotion towards J.J. Redick. Why would I? I don't know if J.J. Redick's going to be a good coach. He's got as much coaching experience in the NBA as I do. I know I'm kidding around when I say that, but it's not like he's got a track record. It's not like maybe he's a really good head coach in the NBA. Maybe he's the coach and fired in 2 years, which would be pretty much the average that the Lakers had over these last 13 years or so. Maybe 2 and some change, I think, is the average. So I don't know what to expect. I do know I got excited about I know I did get excited for a quick second on Dan Hurley, but that is gone. And let's take some phone calls and want to get some Laker fans' thoughts. Let's start with Renee in Artesia. Renee, thank you for calling in. What's going on? You're on Lakers Talk.
Hey, Slee. I get that he's the two-time champion in college. It didn't really matter to me if we got him or not. I love Borrego because he's offensive-minded. I just think we went defense 25 games into the season. Ham finally changed. It looked like we just decided, well, we're just going to try to outscore people. Yeah, it didn't quite work, but at least it looked better. I just think no matter what we do, I don't care who it's been, Walton, Vogel, every game, it's the same. We're going to come down. We're going to put LeBron with the ball. We're going to put 4 guys in the corner. LeBron's tired. I know he played great. I'm not putting him down. But it's like Brett Favre, who throws for 300 yards in the first 3 quarters, but then throws 2 interceptions that you just can't believe in the fourth. I love LeBron. I love having him. I want him back. But I just don't see us ever changing our offense. It's like my wife sits next to me. She's a Golden State fan. She just laughs at me going, why have we into this every year? You saying the same thing? I go, I don't know. I don't know why LeBron's standing at the top of the key, tired, giving it his all, but at the same time, he just can't do it in the last 5 minutes.
Renee, thank you for calling in. I appreciate it. But I think that's why I think this was important to me is I wanted to see a coach that I felt comfortable is going to be around for a while. Because I think all the coaches that you just mentioned, you're right. Okay, is the offense look that much? And I know what you're saying. ISO ball, all that stuff. I understand that. I was listening to a podcast. When was this? I think it was yesterday. I think Jay Billis made a couple appearances on some radio shows. Maybe it was Friday, something like that. And I was a little late to the game listening to him, what he thought of Dan Hurley as a coach. And he talked about, he's like, this dude is light years ahead, and it will apply to the NBA. And it actually has kind of a combination. It works good in Euro basketball. And it sounded like, okay, hey, I see life past LeBron. That we have been living in this LeBron window for about the last 6 years. Every year LeBron has been here, there's been a LeBron window. And I thought what Dan Hurley represented, he represented something that was past LeBron James. And, unfortunately for this organization, I think the front office, they've had a very, very difficult time seeing life after LeBron. And you know what's going to happen? I think the date's going to be June 29th that LeBron can opt out of his contract and sign another deal. It's going to continue. It's going to be a couple more years. And whether you're the biggest LeBron fan or you're not, whatever the case is, this isn't a case about LeBron. The point is that I thought he represented life after Bron. That, yes, there's something going on still with Bron for the next couple of years, but there's also this, we're also planning for the future. And I think that was the Lakers' intention. Again, I give the Lakers credit for saying this is the guy that we're going to go after, but they failed. Period. Point blank. I was having the conversation with John earlier, Ireland, and John was saying, John was making the argument, I get where he's coming from. It's like, look, they only have so much control. He's not wrong. Maybe Dan Hurley at the end of the day just decided, I got an opportunity to live on the West Coast or the East Coast. My family wants to be on the East Coast, and you know what? I'm going to listen to my family, and I'm going to go back to UConn. Lakers can't do anything about that. They can't. But this all came up over the last 4 days. I think there was an expectation that was starting to develop, like, hey, this might actually happen. And the storyline today was one storyline. Lakers didn't get what they wanted. So that's what I mean by they failed. And listen, that's part of the business, right? You pitch free agents and you pitch coaches, and some of them you get and some of them you don't. Unfortunately for the Lakers, they weren't able to make it happen. Nick in Riverside. Nick, what's going on?
Hey, Slee. So I think I'm in the minority. I'm not disappointed. I'll be more disappointed if JJ turns on the Lakers. I've been actually a big fan of JJ, and I've always thought he'd be a good coach like 2+ years ago. I've been talking to my brother about it, so I'm a little biased about it. I've always felt like he's not like a Luke Walton or a Steve Nash because I feel like he commands respect more. I feel like those other two are a little bit more of a pushover and less of a communicators, where I feel like JJ's, like I said, commands more respect. And I just always got that feeling that JJ is going to be a good coach. He might have some growing pains, but I'll be way more disappointed if JJ declines on an offer.
Well, then that would be, Nick, and I appreciate you calling in. That'd be odd, right? At this point, we talked about that a little bit this morning. I mean, imagine if – I don't know J.J. Redick. I don't know his personality, but what if J.J. Redick's like, well, you don't want me – I'm not your head guy. You know what? I'm just going to go back to broadcasting. I'm going to keep doing my stuff on podcasting and everything else and on YouTube. I'm going to wait for a different opportunity. What do the Lakers do after that? Craig in L.A. Craig, appreciate you calling in. What's going on, Craig?
Hey, Slee, listen, man, I agree with everything you were saying earlier on the show where we were debating about, like, the optics of why it didn't happen and everything. I'm like, but like you said, it doesn't matter why it didn't happen. It didn't happen. And it feels like this franchise, it seems like we continue going downhill. We have no structure. Our defense is terrible. And I feel like Dan Hurley would have brought some fire. I think he would have brought, like, just a backbone to our team. And it's like, I'm going to be honest, man, we look like the Clippers now. It's like, this is how bad L.A. has gotten, man. It's frustrating to see.
Appreciate you calling in, Craig. Yeah, that's what I mean by the black and white. Either you got the job done or you didn't. You either closed the deal or you didn't. And the details, the nuance, I know for some people that's important. For me is I know that's what they wanted, and I know that's not what they were able to get. And it does continue this. Let me simplify this. Is today a good day for the Los Angeles Lakers? Is today a good day for the brand? Is it a good day for the perception? Is it a good day for the organization? It's not. It's just not. So, and I get some people that say, hey, I'd rather have J.J. Redick. Cool. Maybe you're right. Maybe that opportunity is going to come. We'll have to wait and see. But that's the part that when I look at the news today around the Los Angeles Lakers, it's not positive, it's negative. Dan Hurley saying no to the Los Angeles Lakers is a negative story. Does it happen? Of course it does. The part that I don't like about this is how many recycled coaches the Lakers have had over a number of years. And when they went all in, listen, they went cheap on Ty Lue. They didn't get him. I'm sure they regret that. Now, Frank Vogel did his job. Lakers got an NBA championship, but the conversation around Laker head coaches these last, let's call it, couple of years, they have not been positive. I remember right after the Lakers season ended, there was some conversation. Lakers are going to try to go after Jason Kidd. Cool. He just gets re-upped over and gets an extension in Dallas. Ty Lue, maybe Lakers are going to have to go Ty Lue. Cool, he just gets an extension with the Clippers. And then obviously you got the situation going on with Dan Hurley. Unfortunately, the Lakers have been kind of used to go get better deals somewhere else. JR, who is calling at LAX. JR, what's up, brother? Thank you for calling in. What's going on?
Well, I have a very different opinion than most people. I think when you look at where the Lakers have been over the past several coaches, I mean, you got to look at it one way. Rob Pelinka did his job one time so far since he's been the GM. He put together a team that Frank Vogel took all the way to the mountaintop. The next year, he dismantled that team, and he hasn't looked the same, or the team hasn't looked the same since. This rests on the back of Rob Pelinka and his ineptitude to keep the right talent on the floor. And until he fixes himself, or somebody taps him on the shoulder and say, hey, guy, you need to look at the man in the mirror. It makes no difference what coach you put out there. Most of these guys know X's and O's. Frank Vogel wasn't the best coach at the time, but he took that team and went all the way because Pelinka put together a good team.
Really good team.
He put together,
really good team.
A really good team. Anybody could have coached that team. So, this is about Rob, man, and they're going to throw shit up against the wall. Excuse me. But they're going to keep throwing.
We'll keep that moving there, and fellas, clean that one up real quick. All right, let's take one more call here, and then we'll go to Brad Turner of the LA Times. Jay in Pomona. Jay, what's going on?
All right, thank you very much for the opportunity. Look here, Slee. Plain and simple. Whether he came or not is no big deal to me. But the man, nobody wants to coach an Asian superstar. I mean, if you look at these timeouts that Darvin Ham would have, and LeBron would be standing off in the corner, rolling his eyes or whatever. I mean, that's out there on film. You know what I'm saying? So if you're Dan Hurley, why would I want to come here and deal with this situation of a player who wants to win, but who's literally past his prime, and another player who is, a good player, but, you don't know if he's going to give you 70 or 75 games a year. So if LeBron wasn't here, Mr. Hurley might have took this job, but since LeBron is here and going to be here for maybe another year or so, I don't see how they're going to improve this coaching situation. Thank you for the opportunity, sir.
Appreciate it, Jay. Thank you, man. Thank you. Basically what I've heard is it's Pelinka's fault, it's LeBron's fault, it's the other coach's fault. I mean, obviously a lot of blame to go around. Bottom line is, as we sit here today, unfortunately, Lakers still don't have a head coach, and they're going to have to continue that search. Brad Turner covers the Lakers for the LA Times. He's coming up next. Stay right here. Lakers Talk on 710 ESPN. All right, roller coaster continues around Los Angeles Lakers basketball. Dan Hurley turns down the opportunity to coach the Los Angeles Lakers, 6-year, $70 million deal. He's going back to UConn. I want to welcome in my buddy, BT, Brad Turner, covers the Lakers for the LA Times. And certainly, I'm excited to get your opinion on this, BT. First off, thank you for taking the time. Brad, let me start with this. Can you kind of unpack the last couple of days? How much of this has been a surprise when you first initially heard the news? If you thought at any point that, hey, this is probably going to happen, just help me understand your viewpoint of the last couple of days.
For the longest time, I was like everyone else, thinking that the job was going to a J.J. Redick. That was all I ever heard. That's all that was being talked about in NBA circles. And the Lakers quickly pivoted. And before I say they pivoted, Rob Pelinka was letting it be known that they had not made a decision yet, and that it wasn't for sure that J.J. was the guy. But you kept thinking, is that true? Is he just trying to kind of stonewall us? Well, he was not. It was true. He did have someone else. And when everyone first heard the name Danny Hurley, you thought, wow, that's sort of thinking out of the box. That's a big push. That moves the needle if he's willing to accept the job. And as we found out, he didn't want the job. He has gone back to UConn, He stayed at UConn, and he's going to get a raise from UConn, and he wants to push for a third straight NCAA championship, something that has not been done since the great John Wooden at UCLA.
It's interesting.
I'm like you. I was shocked by the way the Lakers went after him and that they did have him in and that he was a potential candidate. But I wasn't surprised that he went back.
Yeah, it's funny, BT. It's almost and I got sold. I did. I thought I didn't believe that Dan Hurley was going to make a trip out to the West Coast and meet with the Laker brass. And the way Woj, and obviously one of the best in the business, kind of set up that Lakers are all in. This is the guy that they were targeting. And it just felt like, or maybe I was reading in between the lines, why would this guy come all the way out here unless they're pretty far down the line? Maybe now it's just let's get a couple details in. Let's get a chance to meet, get to know each other a little bit more. But they didn't close the deal over the weekend, and I think once he went back to, obviously, to Connecticut, to New York, anything can happen from there. Can you give me, as we sit here today on a Monday, what's your perception? How do you feel right now about that Lakers job? How do you think other people perceive that Lakers job? Do you think that today was a bad day for the organization because they weren't able to make it happen? I think we lost BT there.
Okay.
You got me there, BT?
We're back.
Okay, there
yes,
you go.
I do.
There you go.
No, you're right. The last thing I heard you say was a bad day for the organization, and it was. But they can pivot and recover from this. Exactly how they do it, that becomes the multi-million-dollar question. I mean, we go back to the example when we thought they were going to hire Tyronn Lue as a coach. That didn't happen. We thought they were going to hire Monty Williams. That didn't happen. They both turned it down. And I guess, in essence, Frank Vogel was the third choice, second choice, and he did lead them to a title. So it worked out in that regard. But 3 years later, Frank Vogel is fired. 2 years into his tenure with the Lakers, Darvin Ham is fired. I mean, there's a lot of guys being fired in a short period of time when they're coaching for the Lakers. And let's be real, you're coaching LeBron James, who's still playing a very high, but in the twilight of his career. That's not one who is as great as he is. and knows the game as well as he does. So those are things you have to consider. You know, how do you coach an aging superstar whose greatness has been seen and is still out there? Those are questions that I would assume Danny Hurley had to ask himself, that his coaching staff, that his family, his wife, his kids, everyone he talks to had to ask all those questions. And again, it goes back to, what did Danny Hurley really want? Obviously, he really wants to go back and coach at the college ranks.
Brad Turner, who covers the Lakers for the LA Times, taking some time here to join us on Lakers Talk. BT, I'm curious, just how do you mentioned Ty Lue, you mentioned Monty Williams, and these are two coaches that have long-term deals in the NBA right now. Ty Lue with the Clippers and Monty Williams with the Detroit Pistons. What's the right deal for the Lakers to try to find a situation where they're not recycling coaches every couple of years? I think you would agree with this. I think Pelinka would agree with this. I'm sure Jeannie would agree. Nobody wants to have a different coach every 2 years or 2.5 years, or on the high end, it's been 3 years. What are the Lakers missing in this? Is this just come with the territory of coaching the Lakers, or is there a bigger issue there?
No, it doesn't. I mean, I was around early in my career when Pat Riley was the head coach. Well, they won under Pat, if I'm not mistaken, 4 of their championships in the 80s. But I was really around and close to the Lakers when Phil Jackson was here, who won 3 straight championships, got to the finals 4 times out of 5 years, and then he was let go. They brought in Rudy Tomjanovich, who didn't need a season, and Dr. Jerry Buss decides, I am bringing Phil Jackson back. And that worked. Phil got them to the finals 3 straight years, and they won 2 championships. Now, since that time, it's just been an open door, closed door. It's just coaches coming and going. I mean, so there is something there that they can look back at, but you have to find that right person that you want to lead your team. And so far, in their eyes, they have not. I mean, Luke Walton was on board. Once LeBron got there, he didn't last past the 1 year with LeBron James. Frank Vogel, who won a championship, he was there for 3 years. Darvin Ham took them to the conference finals. 2 years in a row, they lost to the Denver Nuggets. Now he's gone. Now here they are looking for another coach. What are they looking for? Only they know the answer to that.
It's funny you say that, because that's exactly where I was going to go. What's next? What of the candidates that you've heard, of the names that have been thrown out there, like you mentioned, and I think a lot of people thought this before Dan Hurley's name came up, everybody just assumed, hey, it's going to be J.J. Redick, right? Are we sitting here in a couple of weeks and J.J. Redick is the next coach? Is it? Do you feel like they got to kind of go back and start over? How do you feel like the Lakers recover from here?
Look, they can, but is it going to be that sexy Hollywood name? J.J. Redick is a good-looking young man, smart young man. I covered him when he played for the Clippers.
Sure.
And for all the intents and purposes, he knows the game of basketball. But he's never been a coach in the NBA. Not an assistant coach, not a head coach, not a scout, none of those things. And that matters. How would that work? Well, it would work if he has a great coaching staff around him. That becomes something that has to be done if he becomes that guy. But James Borrego has been a head coach down in Charlotte. He didn't have a lot of success, but he knows how this game is played. He knows he's called a timeout before the NBA. He's going to practice. He's heard players complain. He's had players swear at him. Had to then decide how to react to that. JJ has done none of those things. One other name that came up early in the process was Sam Cassell. But Sam only had a Zoom interview with Rob Pelinka. Who else is out there? I mean, look, I don't know, because if you mention someone, the Lakers could pivot again and go behind the left field wall and find a new candidate that we go, wow, didn't think about that. He'd be a great guy to have coaching a team. And then maybe he decides he wants it. Maybe he decides to pull up Dan Hurley. And he decides he wants to stay in college or stay retired.
It's going to be fascinating, BT. Another kind of curveball around the Los Angeles Lakers, and I know that the offseason is going to be interesting. Certainly a lot of questions that still need to be answered. Brad Turner from the LA Times. BT, before I started this show, I was chatting with Sedano and Cap, George Sedano. So Sedano said he's got to connect with you because he's going to France. I think he's going to Paris maybe. I don't know where in France he's going. I'm just going to assume Paris. And he said he's got to connect with you because, you're kind of you're like the tour guide out there. How can anybody go to France without talking to you first? So expect George to be giving you a call at some point.
Tell him I'll be happy to talk to him anytime, any place. Matter of fact, we can talk over a bottle of wine.
There you go. BT, thank you for the time, brother. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
All right, that's Brad Turner from the LA Times right there. When we come back, we got crunch time coming up, so I'm going to get Funch's thoughts, DeAndre's thoughts. We're going to spend a little time talking about the NBA Finals, and I'm going to try to squeeze in a couple more calls here before we get out of here as well. Phone number is 877-710-ESPN. Stay right here. Lakers Talk on 710 ESPN.
Go Funches.
Funches. What's up, brother? How are you?
Mr. Sliwa. Quite a weekend we had so far, huh?
Did you get fugazi'd? I got fugazi'd.
Yeah, we did.
I thought they were real diamonds.
Yes, I did. I mean, Sunday, we got the report that he was here. You know, something was going to go down. And Monday, Sunday night, we're going to wake up to him being a Laker coach.
I can't tell. I'm like, am I the only one that thought, hey, I think this is going to happen? So you thought it was going to happen. DeAndre, you on the same page? Did you feel like this was going to happen?
I thought it was going to happen. I thought it was like a for sure thing.
What the hell's going on here?
Let me ask you one question, Slee. I mean, we had Coach K basically turn this down 20 years ago to almost the exact day.
Right.
And then I think about 10 years ago, I want to say Kevin Ollie, who was the hot college coach at the time, turned us down as well.
Is that when he won after he won it? Was he when it UConn? Too?
Yeah, that's what I believe. Okay. Yes. And then now we're getting turned down again 10 years later by another hot college coach. Is this Laker job still prestigious?
I think it's still prestigious, but I think you got to understand the NBA is not the same way it used to be. There's other really good jobs out there. And if you feel like you have an ownership and front office, everyone's pulling the rope in the same direction, that's just as important as the actual brand. Lakers are going to be popular no matter what. I think you just got to make sure. Let me give an example where they tried to shortchange Ty Lue. Okay, then he's just going to end up somewhere else. They tried to shortchange. The reason why Frank Vogel took the job was because it was 3 years and they got to pick his assistants. That's just not the way you're doing business. I mean, it hurts the brand when you give off that type of perception about the coaching position. Maybe it looks like they don't value coaches, right? So I think the job is still a prestigious one, but the people making the decisions also got to clean up their act, in my opinion.
Like I was saying, to people earlier today, the Lakers call, you got to take the job. The Yankees call, you got to take the job. It's one of those prestigious type of things where you might never know when they're going to call again, or if they ever do.
Here's the problem with that argument is because they've had 6 coaches in 13 years, they might call again in 2 years. Right?
You're right. You're absolutely right. Yeah.
It's not Mike Tomlin in Pittsburgh. It's not it's not Eric Spoelstra in Miami. It's not Greg Popovich in San Antonio, where it's literally those jobs never come up. Problem is with the Lakers, go on LinkedIn, it's there every 2 years.
Yeah. Huge problem. And now with that out the way, the Celtics, they're up 2-0 in the finals.
Yep.
What do you think about that? Does the Dallas have a chance to come back?
I want to get both of your thoughts on this because all three of us are huge NBA fans. We just love the NBA. Am I missing something in this finals, or is there just it's not hitting me? I don't know what to tell you guys. I don't know if I just already know what the result's going to be.
Because I think Boston. I think you already know that Boston is probably going to win. Most likely is going to win. You just don't know how.
Yeah, I think Boston is their depth, the amount of guys that they can get. That Derek White and Drew Holiday are literally performing as good as Jaylen Brown and Tatum in this series is ridiculous.
Yes,
Porzingis is. I don't know if I've seen Porzingis miss a shot yet. Do you guys feel some drama in this series, in this final so far, or are you guys not feeling it?
I mean, we still got Game 3, and if Dallas can win Game 3, we got some drama. If they lose, then we got nothing.
It's done.
We're going to be looking forward to the NBA draft in a couple weeks.
DeAndre, were the first 2 games exciting for you, or did it just feel like 2 regular games?
Nah, they weren't exciting at all. I felt like 2 regular games. I mean, it's like a clear shot right now for Boston to win this series, honestly.
Unfortunately, I think you're right. I mean, I think there is a little bit of that. And, as much as Boston was kind of just coasting so far in the playoffs, when push comes to shove against Dallas, they look as good as any team that's been out there.
Would you be surprised if Dallas just won 2 in a row and made it a series? I would not be surprised at all. No, not at all.
You wouldn't? Okay, so I would. I would be surprised. I could see them winning. For example, I could see them winning the next game, but taking both in Dallas and going back 2-2, I'd be excited about it. That'd be great. I'm cheering for it. I just don't feel like it's going to happen. I think they'll split. I think it'll be 3-1. Eventually going back to Boston. Do you see how tough it is for Dallas to score? I mean, even some shots that Luka was hitting, there's some shots that Kyrie was hitting, and I'm like, if you're Boston, you're saying keep taking those shots. It ain't going to happen. And nobody else is really contributing the way some of these other players are for Boston. It's just so hard for them to generate any offense.
Literally, that's all Drew Holiday, Derek White, and Jaylen Brown just covering Luka and Kyrie.
Tatum hasn't even had a good series.
Not at all. We haven't even talked about him yet.
Yeah, he's been bad. I mean, I think he's shooting 30% from the field, and these guys are still winning.
He's like the fifth best player on his team right now.
Yeah. I know you had one more. Let's squeeze this one in, too. So Darvin Ham is now
Ham is going to go back to Milwaukee to take a job as an assistant coach under Doc Rivers.
That's interesting.
Yeah, I mean,
that's interesting, huh?
Yeah, I mean,
but probably
it's probably good for him, though. I mean,
yeah, I was going to say probably the right thing for him to do, because I don't know if there is. Let's just put it this way: Frank Vogel, I thought, could wait, and another job would come up, and it did for him. And he got, a 5-year offer and was fired after 1 year, so now he gets to kick back for 4 years. Not a bad gig. I don't know if Darvin Ham waited. Do you guys think he would have had a job offer next year, or do you think it's smart of him to go back and grab an assistant coach?
I kind of have a theory. I think he's just waiting for Doc Rivers to do the Doc Rivers thing and then take over the Milwaukee job.
Interesting.
You know the Doc Rivers things where, Yeah.
So he's a lead assistant there? Is that what they have him as?
I think so, yes.
Okay. All right. Well, there's our quick little rundown there. Appreciate, fellas. Thank you for that. All right, it's interesting. Yeah, I always kind of find it, especially for this specific situation. I'm talking about Darvin Ham. Maybe this is good for him. Okay, we got a couple more minutes, and part of the reason why I wanted to give a little bit more time is I know we've had a lot of people on hold, so I still want to take a few more of these phone calls before we call it a night tonight. Let's do this. Let's go to Richard in L.A. Richard, what's going on? You're on Lakers Talk.
Yeah, real quick. I don't mean to sound like the late, great Alex Trebek, but prior to Anthony Davis, remember that team LeBron had his first year with the Lakers? Kyle Kuzma, Josh Hart, Brandon Ingram, Alonzo Ball. Even if they had kept them and gotten a serviceable big man, not great, just a serviceable big man, seeing that the Western Conference is getting younger and not older, hey, I would have coached that squad, wouldn't you?
Yeah, I think the problem is, and I appreciate you calling in, Richard, the problem is that's so long ago, right? And so much has happened since then. And LeBron wasn't coming to play for the Lakers so he can hang out with 21-year-olds and 22-year-olds. That just wasn't going to happen. Once LeBron decided he was going to come to the Lakers, it was, all right, let's try to win here. Let's try to win an NBA championship, and they accomplished that. I think right now for the Lakers, they got to find a way to stabilize this coaching position. They really do. I understand, and I think a lot of Laker fans, there is an expectation on this franchise and this organization that, hey, you got to win right now. You got to find the right coach. And it's up to that front office to find the right coach and let this thing marinate. And it's also up to the front office to figure out what they're going to do this upcoming year and what they're also doing 5 years from now. And that's going to be the challenge with this Lakers organization right now. How do you pay attention to the present without sacrificing the future? And Lakers got a lot of work to do in figuring all that stuff out. I appreciate all the callers that hung out. Thank you to Michael Funches, Mario Ruiz, DeAndre Hawkins. Thank you to the entire team, the social team as well for helping us out. LA, as always, hope you guys have a great rest of your night.
Drivers who switch and save with Progressive could save hundreds.